Good morning. This is Dr. Ted Coffman with Dr. Ted Talks with our last section on the book We. This final section, I saved the best for last. It's entitled Writers. The writer places the words on paper, but reserves the joy of the quiet thunder of writing for herself. The joy of writing is as fulfilling as a good meal until about noon, and then the meal wins out. It is my intention to paint smiles with words and joy with keystrokes. I give birth to poetry that it may have a life of its own. Keystrokes are a writer's brushstrokes with which to paint pictures in the reader's mind. Writers manipulate words until they set the concepts free. There's nothing more powerful than an intelligent, ambitious, courageous girl with a book. It terrifies even the most radical extremists and some politicians. Writers and speakers relay meaningful thoughts. Great writers and speakers do it quickly. The mark of a writer is one who can capture life in a simple phrase. Writers change the world into words, and then the words into a new world. Writing is not necessarily about content, but about the magical feeling generated inside the authors as they write. Burning books cannot erase a learned mind. Mark Twain was such a great wordsmith that he actually manipulated and elevated thought. Writing is where I go to hide from work. Writing is loosing the bonds of earth and flying briefly among the stars. I encourage you not to enjoy just the color of the sunset I describe, but the warmth of the sun on your skin and the light refracting off the dewdrop globe which projects the tiny rainbow onto a blue truck door. I write not for the words on the page, but for the song in my heart. Writers are to volumes of thought what the waves are to the sea. Your greatest song lies unwritten in the ethers. You might want to grab your pen and listen up. What you write for yourself is art. What you write for others is work. My wish for you is to enjoy what you do enough to jump up and run to your wife to read it because you just can't wait to share it. Good writers move readers to a place. There are at least two kinds of alchemists, those who can change lead into gold and those who turn words into action. I want to be the author of the book I most want to read that hasn't been written yet. The master writer does not merely relay the fact that it is raining. He makes you wet. Let my writing be my obituary. I consider writing of death but the thoughts of life again came bursting in to joyfully interrupt. The more I quote the masters, the more my work improves. Writing is a hoot. Working at getting published, not so much. The artist, the musician, and the poet are participants, creating that which may be interpreted by the spectators, who then find themselves among the participants. The function of the writer is to add joy to life. I write for me, so I worry not of the critic. The writer writes not to transport the reader to a destination, but to stimulate the reader to steer to their own destination. A horseback ride in the forest, double therapy. Good writers build treasure maps in the mind. To the writer, the pen is a river of thought. Every time I write, I feel sacred, so I write daily. If your writing doesn't have a heartbeat, give it CPR. Keep writing. The universe has the first draft of my writing. I just copy what I hear. Writing what you like to read is the first rule of writing. No goosebumps? Redo it. The showerhead is the writer, the water are the words, and the skin is the feeling the water makes. Value can be in every thought. Massage it until it's fun to read. Don't get stuck in the half full, half empty. Just drink up, refill, and write another line. That probably fits Hemingway. September's golden aspens on Colorado's western slope, and the rainbow trout rising in the frying pan river. A writer's paradise. Good writing helps us taste the transpicious, luscious, piquant, flowering, butter-enriched maple syrup. You can disturb the peace without breaking the law. Ask any writer. Even if I am the only one reading this passage, writing it shall not have been a waste of time. When you are confident enough with your work, you will be tough enough to get published. Writing, at times, is about compacting the most truth into the least space. The words come so quickly at times I feel my dream is dreaming me. You laugh at what I write because I am saying what you are thinking. You are my mini-me. If I give up on mankind, my writer's pilot light would go out immediately. If writing is a forest fire, each word is a tree sacrificing itself in the direction of meaning. I will not meet Thomas Jefferson but by his writings. Listening is how I write. The best poem or the greatest thought is written and posted out there in the universe, and I keep listening, so someday I may just be gifted to bring it to earth and jot it down. Writers keep writing so readers may feel all the emotions of the rainbow continuum. Let my work be more than mere entertainment. I write not of life's events, but of life's vibrations. Can you feel it? Writing is like elk hunting. Be still, stay cocked, watching and listening, and your inspiration will soon come bursting through the thicket. A membership in literature still commands a firm belief in the untapped potential of humankind. One of my biggest challenges is not getting my mind between my fingers and the keyboard as I'm writing. The zone, the grand ground of being, from which one writes without thought. The thoughts are provided without thinking. Like the great sculptors, great writers sculpt words to set the idea free. Great writing cannot be defined, but you know it when you see it. Sleep can be a significant obstacle to creative writing. Let me live and write in the hope of the transformation of the human spirit, that I may have earned my place in literature. Writers, poets, sculptors, painters, and comedians dream for a living. When I write, I am impelled to write with the roar of a lion, not the squeak of my desk mouse. The flow in writing is receiving thought faster than you can type. You can even hit rewind to retrieve the latter part of the thought. When you lose the flow, recenter. The purpose of the inspirational writer is to be the tour guide on the enlightening journey through higher consciousness. There, off to your left, in the foreground, is the hallowed, willful release of upset. Writers hope to influence the world some without even leaving the house. I am a gardener planting flowers along the road of success. The purpose of the writer is to move the envelope of progress while preserving the dignity of tradition. I read my work out loud to myself because I am part of my audience and I want it to sound perfect to me. I need not be great, but it must be my best. My best work still lies deep within, but I will keep digging. If you have been rushing to finish the book, you can stop soon. Thank you for being here. I'm Dr. Ted Coffman, and I'm going to share one more poem with you, and then we'll be done. It's called The Blizzard. It was mid-November on the High Country Ranch. It was Saturday night, and he'd just left the dance. He played a fine fiddle. They all liked his strokes. 'Twas a popular fellow with all the ranch folks. Cheyenne was all saddled and tied up outside. He was headed for home to be with his bride. She was 7 months pregnant, in love with her man. He was off in a hurry. Let's get going, Cheyenne. Into the twilight night, the big paint horse did scurry. The cowboy was anxious he'd be home in a hurry. They now had to conquer a high mountain pass to get him home to his sweet cowgirl lass. No problem, he thought, to travel this course because he was riding a well-trusted horse. He knew the way home, and she carried him well, but on their way up, they soon rode into hell. The snow was still light as they entered the pass, but as they got higher, the cowboy would ask this fine-painted mare to reach down inside to find her true horse self. She shortened her stride. The snowdrifts grew taller until he could see he just might not make it home to his family. The mighty horse struggled to ride through the drifts as the cowboy recalled his many fine gifts. His ranch was the pride of the whole lower valley. He'd won lots of buckles just taking his dally. He had real kind neighbors, a great brother too. His dog was a good friend. He just called him Blue. He recalled the mountain sunsets he'd watched with his Sadie. He thought of the lovin' that he'd given his lady, that put her with child he might never kiss because of this blizzard that set things amiss. He was rightfully thankful for the good health he'd had. He thought of his parents, his mom and his dad. He wondered if ever he'd see them again. Don't give up now, girl. Keep walking, Cheyenne. The big ranch horse labored as she neared the top. Not for a moment did she think she'd stop. The cowboy upon her was riding alone, and she knew her job was to just get him home to his cute little wife and his unborn baby child. But the snow was so deep and the wind was so wild, the cowboy soon drifted and went sound asleep. Cheyenne plowed through drifts that now were so deep. And when he awakened as she tumbled down, he landed so softly on snow-covered ground. There just ahead was his ranch house so near, but there on the ground was his best friend so dear. With no life left in her, she'd given her all. Her heart had just burst, and that made her fall. The cowboy got up and went straight for the light and told his wife of his horse's sad plight, the work that she'd done, the effort she'd given. If there is such a thing, she's now in horse heaven. And if you can visit that ranch house today, you can't help but notice the tribute they pay. A horse statue stands at the ranch entry gate, the whole story emblazoned of that horse's fate, that makes her a legend that lasts to this day, of a horse that once knew the true cowboy way. And the little girl born to that wife and that man, they honor her proudly. They call her Cheyenne. Thanks for being with us. This is Dr. Ted Coffman with Crystal Star Ranch and Dr. Ted Talks. We appreciate you being here with us. We know there are a lot of places you could have been. If you like us, touch that like and subscribe button. It costs nothing and it helps us with our sponsors. We do appreciate you taking the time to be with us for this sharing. And if you have questions, you can reach us at Dr. Ted Talks or drted.trainer@gmail.com. And we would love to hear from you. So thanks for being with us, and we wish you a happy, healthy, prosperous life until we meet again. Happy trails. I'll go feed and water the horses.